So I've wanted to do one of these videos for a while. I've had this idea. So if you don't know, I'm a huge fan of the UFC. And I also coach a lot of high level entrepreneurs, helping them do like the deep inner work so they actually create big ass fucking results. And so I love the UFC. I love the marketing. I like the fights. I like the interviews. I like the psychology that goes on. And I just think it's a really fascinating sport. And I have perspectives just from like coaching and picking up on subtle cues from people in their interviews. And so that'd be fun to do that. So this coming Saturday, we have UFC 278. In the main event, we have Kamaru Usman, and we also have Leon Edwards. And then in the co-main, we have Luke Rockhold, who's just a year older than me. He's 38. And then we have Paulo Costa, and I forgot how old he is, but he's younger. And so I want to give you my perspectives on a couple of things I've seen in the interview. So let me share my screen here, and let's watch something here with Luke. Here we go. And as I play this little clip, I want you just to I want to invite you to like be with the energy of Luke. Like just be with him, look into his eyes, and ask yourself, like, who is this man? Like, what is he about? How does he represent an aspect of you? And yeah, let's start there. I'm gonna play a little clip and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. So let's go here.
Luke, man, welcome back. It's been 3 years, I guess, at this point. First fight week. I know it's still kind of early in the week, but what are the emotions like right now, and how does it feel to finally be back?
So here it's just like he hasn't been in an interview like this in 3 years, and his phone's going off. He turned it off, and he's just kind of like in his own little world. In my opinion, this is totally my perspective. In his own little world, rather than being like fully fucking present. So let's just start there.
Feels right. Feels good.
And maybe it's because he's pissed off at the media, which we're going to talk about later in this clip, which we'll talk about for sure. So there's a little bit potentially internally in him, a bit of animosity and fuck you between him and the media is just showing up to do their job. So let's continue.
He's better and better by the day. Definitely. I was nervous 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. Yeah, but no. Whoops. It's been a while. It's been a while. I felt like you could all hear me up here anyway, but yeah, I'm fighting a beast, no doubt. And I wanted that. I want a guy that scares me and gets me up in the morning. And that fuels me to fucking.
So what I see in this clip is a guy, when I look into his eyes, and this is, again, my story, and want to clarify, my intention isn't being some armchair quarterback who's sitting here in the fucking stands, who's not willing to get into the octagon and be like, hey, I'm going to put on the line. So my intention isn't like tearing Luke down. My intention isn't pointing out what he isn't. My intention is pointing out some of the subtle cues, using this as an example, just because I really enjoy the whole fight game, and even enjoy Luke Rockhold and who he beats, like as he is. So I just want to preface that, not sitting here as some person in the stands. Like I honor that he's even there. I honor that he's getting into the octagon on Saturday. I honor that all the training he's put in. So I'm not negating any of that. And when I look into his eyes, what I see is a person who's tired. This could be because he's cutting weight to make 185, potentially. But beyond that, when I look into his eyes, I see somebody who's just like afraid. And I don't mean afraid to fight. I don't believe Luke Rockhold has any fear of fighting. He's a fighter. But what I experience with a lot of fighters, and this also translates into entrepreneurship, is underneath this facade of like, I'm this fucking warrior, or I'm this fucking business owner. We'll stay with Luke. I'm this fucking warrior. I don't fucking quit. I have a monster in front of me. I'm going to eat his face. Warrior. I'm willing to fucking die in there. All true. And I'll have you consider, for a lot of fighters, that's driven by the fear of inadequacy of who they are as a human being. Like, do I have worth? Do I have value? Let me fucking prove to you. I'll fucking eat your face. And it's this persona that's created in response to the life experiences. And again, I'm not saying it's bad at all. I'm making a distinction that this fear, and again, this my projection, this is what I'm seeing, this fear and him then responding and reacting to the fear of like, well, I'm going to be this warrior. This is what I'm going to do in response to this. And the question and the observation is realizing all of us do this. All of us do this to one degree or another, right? All of us do it. It's part of the beingness being human. The real question is it so embedded unconscious that it's just living this vessel, living this body, and then deep inside, we're asking questions like, who the fuck am I? When I look at Luke Rockhold, like, let's play a little clip.
Push myself to that end of who I am. And that's what defines it.
When I look at him, and even when he's like, this is who I am. If I was Luke Rockhold's coach, I'd be very present with him and be like, who the fuck are you, Luke Rockhold? Because I believe that you have no fucking clue. And you're sitting here putting on this horse and pony show to convince yourself that you're awesome. And you're saying words that you don't give a fuck, but deep down inside your fucking core, I don't believe you. And then I would sit with him and see what's going to come out from that place. Maybe there's truth to it. Maybe there's not. But what I see here is a man who doesn't know who he is. And he's doing everything he can and grasping at straws, trying to figure it out to answer the question. Who am I? Why am I here? Well, maybe this be a fighter and prove all this stuff and show. I'm going to have you, and I'd have Luke consider. The answer is found in the paradox of realizing you're nothing and you're everything. Like, you have immense value as a human being just because you exist. And on the other side, you're just in a sea of billions of humans, and your life is meaningless in the grand scheme of hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And on the other side of that, your life has immense value because this fight, this interview is even creating this conversation that you're listening to right now. So there's lots of value from it, and it's all just playing in the tapestry of life. But let's come back to Luke.
A real man, you know, is the finding the biggest test, the biggest challenge, and going out there and fucking putting themselves up to it.
So he's like, biggest challenge, biggest man, putting themselves up to it. This is a persona. This is how Luke has, well, this is what I do. I find the biggest man, the biggest challenge, and this is how I define who I am. Right? This is my perspective. So I'll just fast forward. I believe it is in 1209. He gets pissed off at the media. And this is funny to me. And there's a lesson in this for all of us.
You know, I see all you guys around here right now, and I see this motherfucker right here. You got to do your fucking homework. You fucking, you know, this degenerate culture of fucking barstool sports and full send is like, you got to do your homework. You can't approach Cheeto and give him a fucking Mexican mask about his culture. His culture, he's...
So right here, when I look into his eyes, I don't see fear, but I see sadness. And he's defending one of his friends, Cheeto, who had a great performance last weekend. Fantastic fucking performance. And when I look at Cheeto, I see a man who's like, this is who I am. This is a fighter, and I choose to fight because this is what I choose. Not because I have something to prove. It's just like my essence wants to fight. That's what I see in Cheeto. And he's been on a fucking tear because I believe he's fighting from a place of power, not this place of force where I got to prove, I got to force my way into this. And I'm not talking about the things they're doing. I'm talking about the way they be underneath their doing. I'm talking about their beingness underneath their doing, which, if you don't know, the being that sits underneath the doing is the magic. This is the thing that makes the doing get results or not get results. Like, if we can shift the being and then we continue to take responsibility to do what's required, like the fruit is this the natural evolution of the beingness and the doingness, like in alignment. Cheeto's winning. My experience of Cheeto is his being and his doing is in alignment. my experience of Luke Rockhold, just from this interview, is his being and his doing are out of alignment, right? They're out of alignment. And so when I look into his eyes here, I see sadness. Like, how dare you not acknowledge this man for who he is? Because I'll be damned if nobody acknowledges me, because deep, deep down inside of me, I don't feel acknowledged. I'm unconsciously doing everything I can to be acknowledged, and I'm even trying to prove to myself that I can beat the best guys in the world, because I have in the past. So how dare you not acknowledge one of my friends, and I have the courage because I'm a warrior, so I'll eat your face off too, because this is an injustice. That's what I see that's going on, but this gets better. Let's continue.
He's fucking Ecuadorian, motherfucker. Do your homework.
It wasn't.
And then the press guy, rather than aligning with the truth, that maybe what Luke is offering is like, yo, you gave this Ecuadorian, one of my homies, this Mexican mask thing that you bought in the market. Your intentions were good. However, Cheeto was offended, supposedly, and you need to do your homework because he's Ecuadorian. He's not Mexican. Like, you will honor his essence. You will honor who he is. You will acknowledge who he is. You will not be able to hide. This is a fucking injustice. So I'm going to have you consider this is just like Luke's own shame that he's unconscious of pouring out and then being projected on another human, where Luke's now pretending to be shameless. And again, all this is happening unconsciously, to being shameless and projecting his own shame, like, you will value this other human for who he is. How dare you? Because Luke, deep down, hasn't fully accepted him and acknowledged him. And it's not anybody's job, not my job, not your job, not the press's job, like fucking no one, not even Dana White's job, nobody's job to acknowledge Luke. Now, we can if we choose to. I think there's a lot of brilliance in that. I believe we get to acknowledge people for who they are way more. I think it would serve humanity. It'd serve ourselves. We get to do it for ourselves. But nobody owes us that. We're not entitled to that. We get to learn to self-source our own acknowledgement. But we don't have to project the shame onto humans. But we're going to do it. It's going to happen. So that's what I believe is happening here.
To do with his background. I was literally just.
And so now this guy, the press guy, is like, well, let me defend, since you just essentially projected all of the shame on me. I'm now experiencing shame, the press guy. This is happening unconsciously, where I shall now prove and defend to you why my behavior was right. Watch.
In San Diego, bro.
No,
like,
but you gave him a Mexican mask and you said, this is your culture. Like, you're wrestling with it. You said something along those lines.
I said
it was a disrespect. It was a disrespect to him and where he's from. So just, it's about being a reporter. It's about doing your homework and really understanding what you. I know you guys got carte blanche because Dana's fucking partner with you guys right now, but fucking do your fucking homework and grow a better culture.
So Jason,
Stop giving bad culture to kids.
So here, Luke's like taking a stand for his values. Sounds like he's valuing culture. Sounds like he's taking a stand. This is great. Like, we need people taking a stand for their value. This is good, right?
Jason House is his manager, who's a friend of mine. Yeah. I had texted Jason before I did the.
Look at his body posture. Jaws clenched. Yeah. Like, there's already two humans at war with one another over this, and the ways of being going on is press guy is like, oh, I can't experience all of this pain and shame that's going on unconsciously and these feelings in my heart. So let me put on my persona, which is going to be the smart one, and I'm going to just like justify and defend why I did what I did. And then Luke's like in full-on warrior mode, where the way that he's protecting himself from his own shame is so fun, is he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna warrior you and dominate the shit out of you and control you, because if I can control you, then I don't have to deal with my own internal shame that I'm experiencing. And again, I'm not picking on Luke. I'm not picking on the reporter. I'm making these distinctions so we can all learn. And if I was sitting across from the table from Luke right now, and we're having this conversation, I would say the same thing. Like, this is a great conversation. So let's continue.
The interview, I said, hey, Jason, I went out, I picked up this thing from the market. Nothing to do with Cheetos culture. It was just something interesting.
You related it.
And so here's my point. Another point on this. The guy went to the market, he grabbed this thing, he's justifying the truth is the Mexican mask had nothing to do with Ecuadorian culture. Mexican wrestlers and all of that is Mexican culture. It's not Ecuadorian culture. This is what Luke is trying to say. But what they're trying to get at is this being passed. Like he's being like, I shall dominate you and control you. Luke's like, I shall dominate and control you. Do the right fucking thing. And there's some truth to that. This other guy's being like, no, this is why I did what I did. It doesn't mean anything. It was just, I saw it, so I did it. And like, there's this lesson if they could meet and actually see and acknowledge one another and actually speak the truth of what they're going on is like, hey, man, I didn't like if the reporter owned it. I don't know what his experience really is, but if I try it on, it may be like, man, I'm feeling a little bit embarrassed. I'm feeling a little bit attacked right now. And I hear you. I hear that what I'm hearing you say is I disrespected your friend's culture. Like that would be like meeting somebody in the truth. And it'd be interesting to hear Luke's response to that. Because I imagine if reporter dude fucking owned it and owned the spectrum of, hey, I'm feeling this way in this moment. I'm acknowledging you. Like there's no proving or defending. Because this guy probably, I'm assuming, really was good intentions. How do I make this interview fun that I'm doing with Cheeto? I'm walking through and I'm like, oh, Mexican mask, Latin America, South America, great. Would that be make the interview better? And then he gets into this experience and then like cultures are clashing and it's just a misunderstanding. So I can see like if this guy owned it, maybe Luke would be like, yeah, thanks. And maybe the guy would be like, yeah, in the future, I could see that. Maybe in the future, I'll be a little bit more aware of that. How could I have done that better? Like that would have been like awesome learning lessons, but most people don't communicate that way. So let's continue on this interview because it gets better.
To him being a Mexican.
No, I didn't. When did I call
That's
him?
how he took it. I mean, that's Mexican culture.
But when did I call him Mexican in the interview? Anyways, I worked it out with Jason.
I know. I'm just saying, just do your homework before you get there. And it's just creating better culture, man. That's what it comes down to.
I get you, bro. But like I said, it was no.
I understand. But I'm just saying.
I understand, but I'm just saying. So like they're still battling. Who's the biggest victim? I'm the biggest victim. I know, but I'm just saying. And this guy's been like, I accept it. So they're both just like completely withdrawing their truth and withholding from one another. Defending in their own minds and their own ways of being, I was right. Which creates disconnection from humans, which is fun.
I got
Just
you.
for future reference.
Have you watched any of our other interviews?
No.
Stay with it. Here's my favorite part that's coming up. I'm going to talk about here in a second.
No, I don't.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
So the press guy says, all right, man, I appreciate you. Listen to Luke's response.
Luke, over the past.
And I don't you either. It's all good.
He smirks, a smile, and says, no, you don't. And I don't appreciate you either. The real raw truth. Homeboy, press guy being like, yeah, man. All right, well, you protect your heart. I'll protect my heart. Appreciate you, bro. And Luke goes, no, you don't. And I don't appreciate you. And that's okay. The real raw truth. It's so funny to me. Because there's truth in that. Like, why do we have to default to like these little euphemisms, these little platitudes, like appreciate you, when we actually don't? And it's okay. It's okay as humans to be like, cool, man. Well, thanks for hashing it out with me. I see we're not seeing eye to eye. Cool, man. Appreciate it. Like, I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the toss back and forth, but it doesn't mean I have to like appreciate you, because Luke's right. No, you don't. You don't appreciate me. You're just doing your fucking job. Like, you're not going to come home and like connect with me and like genuinely appreciate me. You don't give a fuck about me. You just want to write some headlines, write some stories, do your fucking job, get paid, and go home. It has nothing to do with me. So let's just be real. Let's at least live in the truth on that one. And how much better would relationships be if people actually learn how to consciously communicate and like connect, like to fully acknowledge one another, right? Because that's what's going on here.
Luke, down here to your left.
So the interview continues. I'm gonna pull back up my notes because there's another place I want us to go to. which is 22:39. So 22:39, 22:39. So at 22:39, he's talking about this interview that he did with DC and RC, and we'll break this down, and then I'll give you my predictions for how this fight plays out. This is fun. This is fun. Here we go.
See what I've said. If you want this and you don't need this, like what?
Did it back up 22:39. What did I do?
And then I got nothing to lose. Yeah, I mean it's well, I'm up at Park City, so it's fucking and a long journey to be here. That makes me very fucking dangerous. And then people like I had DC and RC, they asked me, RC, what I said, if you want this and you don't need this, like what's gonna like get you up, you know, in the fight when you get hurt, if you get.
So he's on this interview show with DC and RC, and they ask him like, "Yo, you don't need this, you want it. So if you get hurt in the fight, what's going to make you get up?" Like it's a pretty interesting question. Like it's like psychologically, if you don't need it, like your back's not up against the wall, what's giving you the motivation to have the grit and the tenacity to get back up and go after your desire? Like, is this question of the fight game, like if you don't need it and you just want it, like is that enough of a driving factor? Is that enough of a driving force to get what you want? And it's a great question, and it's a little bit fundamentally flawed in my opinion, and it comes back to our conditioning as humans, at least that I've experienced thus far, which is, well, if we don't have pain, then we won't perform, which I don't believe is actually fully true. I mean, I could see that, and we can look out at the animal kingdom and say, well, what is the biggest motivator of human behavior? And the answer is going to be pain, right? And so this is what we're getting at. Well, if you don't need it and you just want it, are you really going to have enough like driving motivation, a driving force to actually get back up, right? And my response to this is possibly. And here's what I'm going to say: possibly. If somebody knows exactly who they are and they're just being their essence, and if at Luke's essence he was just this, championship fighter, I'm not saying his persona, I'm saying his essence. If his essence was he's just like this fighter, like if that was true, then he's going to fight and he's going to be extremely good at it, because it's just the natural overflow of his way of being. His natural way of being would be like, I'm a fighter. This is what I do. I have nothing to prove, nothing to defend. I'm calm. I put in the work with my skill sets, and just the natural byproduct, the natural evolution, the natural expression of my beingness is I fight and I fuck you up. And then at the end of it, I'm just going to love on you. Like there's this integration between his warrior and his lover. And my judgment of Luke is he's a bit disconnected from his lover archetype. I don't mean like in relationship to women or anything. I mean like in relationship to how deeply can we fully love oneself? Like, can you fully like love and nurture and accept your essence without having to constantly put up these personas, which we all do, part of the beingness of being human? It's just like I'm asking a deeper question, which is, are we just unconsciously putting up these personas? Or are we consciously making the unconscious conscious, where we come home to our essence, and then from that just innate who we be, the personas are naturally going to just be like, oh, like the doingness is just going to naturally, oh, right? And it's from a place of power, not a place of force. And this is what I'm saying. Maybe I do believe there is a place, if somebody's fighting from their essence, they're naturally going to want to have to get back up from a place of power, not from a place of force. And I'm also not saying it's as simple as it for all of us as humans to be like, well, we're either creating from force or we're either creating from power. We need to make the distinction, because the truth is we are the spectrum of it. And there are times in any fight, in any part of life, where we don't want to do something, but that's going to come back. Well, like who do I choose to be? Who am I? What am I up to? Who am I going to choose to be in this moment? And that even sometimes from a place of force is like, well, I choose to be courageous. I choose to get back up. But it's not in response to, oh, I'm a piece of shit if I don't. This is like, no, this is what I choose. This is what I want. This is what I'm doing. It's not being driven from this need of like, I have to get up because if I don't, then I'm loser and I'm weak and all of this like toxic pressure. The same event can happen, like getting dropped in the fight and getting back up, but it's I don't know, like an expression of who you be, not just like, I got to keep up with the personas. You get what I'm saying? So let's come back to this interview.
Get knocked down. It's like, have you ever seen me fucking quit?
So they asked him the question. They're like, yeah, man, what's driving you? And he immediately goes, have you ever fucking seen me quit? Like, it's coming back to this beingness is like, I got to prove to you I'm a fucking warrior. Is there not enough evidence for you? And I'm going to have you consider the reason that that's coming through is because deep inside, Luke doubts himself. He's not at home with like, yeah, if I get dropped, I'll get back up. That's what I've always done. Like there's a place of peace when we know that's like who we are. If we know like in our bones and we're not unconsciously proving and defending to ourselves, like if we know like, yeah, I'm a warrior and I can love myself fully just as I am, perfectly incomplete just as I am. Yeah, great question. I'll get back up. I've done it my entire career. But instead, Luke's like,
I've never had a fucking like, kids or things. I'm a fucking man. And I'm going against another man who's trying to take my fucking soul. Say, I've been caught. I've lost fights, but I've never fucking quit. No one has outbested me. And, I'm excited to go out there and fucking fight and just put it on the fucking line. Paulo, he's a fucking quitter.
so I'm going to end this interview there. And so here's my prediction. I feel like this fight is like Luke Rockhold kind of being this, I'm going to say a grumpy old man, even though he's not old. He's only 38 years old. I'm 37. He's a year older than me. But I'm poking at and pointing at this underlying way of being is like, I have all this life experience. I've done all these things. I'm just kind of like with life. Like I'm a little grumpy with life. Like just I'm going to bear down and knuckle and force life to bend to my will. Like there's a little bit of that going on, right? Now, Paulo Costa, I feel like, and I'm not going to do a breakdown of his interview or whatever, but as I've watched him on Embedded, as I've watched him in other interviews, as I've watched him fight in other fights against Israel Adesanya and some of the other fights before that I don't remember exactly. Martin Vettori and some other fighters. My judgment of Paulo is he's just like a different fractal of Luke. Like Luke is, I'm kind of labeling this grumpy old man currently. I'm not saying it's who he is at his essence. I'm just saying the way he's showing up. It's kind of a grumpy old man energy. Paulo Costa is kind of like this arrogant, gorilla beaten like his chest, wounded adolescent. Like I don't know what Paulo's journey has been. I don't know what his life experience has been, and I'm not judging him. It's just an observation of his way of being, which is like a little whiny, little bitch ass adolescent who feels entitled, who feels like the world owes him. And he's just not like, I don't feel like he's fully comfortable in his skin, just like I don't believe Luke's fully comfortable in his skin, even though I see them both as amazing human beings, full of infinite amounts of potential, doing really cool shit. They're both good looking dudes. They're both super fucking like ripped and shredded. They're both pushing their bodies. But the driving force of both of those men, I believe, is inadequacy. Like they don't really know who they are. And they're trying everything they can to run from their own deep internalized shame. And it's all happening unconsciously. And they've put up all of these personas and coping mechanisms and behaviors to create this character that they're currently playing out. So I think this is going to be a very fun fight. Like this, I got to prove the world to myself that I'm not this grumpy old man and blah, warrior, and I'm going to go till like I just can't go anymore. Luke's going to come and bring it, I believe. And Paulo, I believe, is going to bring it too, of like, the world owes me everything. See me. All right. And then they're going to go and they're both going to bring it. And they're both just fighting from a place of force. I don't see either one of these men fighting from a place of power. And I'm not saying power like the power that they hit or their power that they kick. I mean, because the truth is they both would finish me and like they could breathe and I would die. Right? You get what I'm saying? Like I'm just making an observation on the ways of being that's driving their behavior. And at the end of the day, I believe the person who has the highest level of energy, because they're both highly skilled, but whoever has the highest level of energy is going to win. My guess, I could be completely wrong. My guess, and I hope I'm wrong, but my guess is Paulo Costa takes the fight on Saturday with Luke Rockhold. I believe I witness, I see, this is my own projection of Luke's energy, it's dark and it's heavy, it's gritty, and it feels low. And Paulo's, why it's still in the same vein of proving and defending and like, who am I? I gotta like have pride and arrogance to make sure I'm right. Like it's just, I feel like it's a higher level energy than this fear and sadness. I feel like Paulo's energy is just, it's higher, and I think they're both great fighters. This is my prediction. I'm gonna post this video even before Saturday, so you guys can come hate on me if I'm wrong. And even if I'm wrong, it's fine. I hope you've gleaned some insights into ways of being, and through these two amazing men, like letting them be a reflection of a part of you, for you to come home to a piece of you, so you can integrate yourself even more and more back into wholeness. Because I believe that's the game that we're all up to. Because at the end of the day, when we come home, every single one of us is the spectrum of possibilities. Spectrum of darkness, spectrum of light. Like I am all of it, and everything that I am talking about and projecting upon and judging in these two men, I'm the same fucking thing. I'm dark and gritty and I beat my chest. I'm just like them. The difference is I'm just like you, and I'll admit it. I don't have to prove or defend or justify I'm not. And in that, there's this level of freedom of just like me being me. There's a level of peace. And since I'm home, to the best of my ability, in the spectrum, from this place, I can choose, well, how do I want to express? What feels in alignment with me? What feels like wants to express for me? And in that place, I can be a vessel for what I will call divinity and spirit or whatever to walk through. And that doesn't mean that I even do it perfectly, because sometimes it's just probably bullshit ego on my part too. I'm just willing to dance into the possibilities of all of it. I'm inviting you to do that. So this is the first time I've ever done this type of video. I've actually really enjoyed creating this video. And if you like it, like tell me in the comments below, like, hey, I like this video. Would you do more of these? You have questions? Let's just see where this goes, and maybe I'll continue this and maybe I won't. So this is fun. Peace.